But now to the secret compound that's been labelled degrading and inhumane, with allegations of men, women and children being kept virtual prisoners, working full-time and living in appalling conditions. And the incredible thing is, it's right in the middle of a suburban neighbourhood. Here's Brian Seymour with this world-exclusive report with those who've escaped and are now speaking out.
This is the Australian prison.
Right there, you're telling me kids, adults, foreign nationals are kept there, basically held prisoner right here in the heart of Sydney, pretty much.
I lived in the garage for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
G'day, it's Brian Seymour from Today Tonight at Channel 7 and a couple of guests. Thank you. That'd be great, thank you.
Shane's story is one of shocking abuse, child abuse. It's one of a child being enslaved.
There it is, hiding in plain sight, a compound in the middle of suburbia, a place where children and adults are sent to be punished and corrected in awful ways. Shane Kelsey is 21 years old. Until just over a year ago, he had never used the internet, watched television, or followed the media.
You're not allowed to read any books other than Scientology books. You can't read newspaper, no radio, no movies, nothing.
Shane says he was held captive and groomed to see all of us on the outside as pathetic, useless, stupid.
So I lived in a garage until they got flooded by a storm, and my mum got really pissed off and said, "What the hell?" And so I got moved into a closet. It is a closet under the stairs, maybe 2 meters long and 1 meter wide.
This is the true Australian headquarters of the Church of Scientology. In the Sydney suburb of Dundas lies the RPF base. It stands for Rehabilitation Project Force. It's where Scientologists are sent for punishment and training for crimes that most of us would regard as trivial.
They promised us someone would come and talk to us. That hasn't happened. I couldn't get through on the phone. More than 50 requests for interviews on camera have been flatly refused. The bottom line is they don't want people to know what's going on inside there. Those who've lived in there, like Shane, say it's like a gulag, a prison, and yet these are ordinary houses. This could be any suburb in Australia. People here would be horrified to know what has been going on in there for so many years and continues to this day.
This is the story of how Shane Kelsey survived and escaped to reconnect with his father and the real world. Shane Kelsey's mother and father were dedicated Scientologists in Sydney, so they put their son Shane into its highest core at the age of 6. Little Shane moved into a tiny room with 11 other children, and so it began. By the age of 7...
We'd go down the streets. I mean, we were... well, there'd be like 8 of us, 10 of us, young as, and we'd just go pledge people to drug-free lives and things like that.
How old were you when you did that?
I first started doing that when I was 7. I signed my contract when I was 8 years old.
And what was the contract for?
It was the billion-year contract.
Billion-year contract?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean?
That means your service and you're volunteering or servicing the church for the next billion years.
How often did you see your parents when you were in there?
I saw them once a week.
Shane's mother and father would soon separate, and his dad, Adrian, left Scientology and moved overseas. The work schedule for children in this hellhole was full-time, hard, and without reward.
You were working 35 hours a week when you were 8 years old. How many hours a week did that grow by the time you were, say, 14?
By the time I was 14, I was working in the kitchen.
Every morning, a military muster required marching and saluting to the cause of saving mankind from the intergalactic ravages described by its science fiction founder.
We used to do marching, you know, close order drilling and things like that.
What for? Were you preparing for battle?
No, just because it was a form of discipline.
They wore all black uniforms, required to run always, never walk. So-called homeschooling was provided in fits and starts, taking a back seat to hard labour and brainwashing.
As soon as you turn 15, anyone, you're straight out of school. Doesn't matter what grade you're in, what level of literacy, what level of maths, what level of anything, you're straight out.
The mess hall served food priced at 30 cents per meal, mostly beans and rice. Those who dared question the brutality of this place were dealt with swiftly and severely.
They used to live under our squash courts. It's mud, it's just a dirt floor. We put people in there and they live in there.
By the age of 15, Shane was living a nightmare. Even he now struggles to believe.
As soon as I turned 15, I was doing 7 days a week, 14-hour days.
See, that's 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
In a commercial kitchen, Shane and other children slaved away, cooking meals all day, every day, studying and snatching what little sleep they could.
We'd get anywhere between $4 pay to $35.
$35 a day?
A week.
That's completely unacceptable. But there's no law in New South Wales that makes it illegal to work a child for those hours. Now, that's extraordinary, but that's the case.
Among those who needed to be fed was billionaire James Packer. For several years, beginning in 2002, Packer came to the Church of Scientology early in the mornings to receive auditing and instruction.
How much did you get paid for cooking meals for James Packer?
I didn't get paid anything extra. There was no bonus or anything. It was just the meal you cooked.
There's no suggestion Mr. Packer had any idea who was preparing his meals or their work conditions.
What did you cook for him, do you remember?
Oh, just like steak and chips or a nice salad or omelettes, those kinds of things. It had to be nice, like it wouldn't just be sloppy. It had to be nice.
Mr. Packer left Scientology around 2008. It would be more than 2 years later until Shane made his break for freedom. In late 2010, Adrian Kelsey decided to rescue his son. He invited us to document the attempt. He informed police of his plans to go to the compound and demand his son's release. He had protest signs ready if they refused to let him come out. Then, this. The moment father and son see each other for the first time in 4 years. Shane and Adrian were followed by Scientology enforcers, so Shane reluctantly returned to the compound to avoid trouble. Just 1 week later, he was sent to work near the compound's boundary, and he made a break for it.
Scientology can't mess with family.
It's taken Shane 14 months to shake off Scientology, to discover the truth, learn about the real world, and tell his story.
One thing that would be good if they actually just stood up and said, sorry, it wasn't right, and we're going to change it.
Yeah,
but that is not going to happen.
This is Peter O'Brien. She lived at the RPF base between 1997 and 2000. She confirms Shane's account of the appalling conditions.
You do 2 hours of work, then you go and study for 2.5 hours. In the RPF it was 5 hours. And then you go to work, again, hard labour, picking with a rock pick, chipping away at rocks to lay a road.
Now a successful architectural designer, Peter believes Scientology has nothing of value to offer the community.
Closed down, door shut, and all the staff members going back to their families and living their lives.
This is degrading and inhumane treatment.
Lawyer Gronier O'Donovan is based in Perth and has devoted her time and expertise to helping survivors of the cult seeking justice. She has also campaigned with members of Anonymous, an internet-based group that has raised awareness about Scientology.
At some level, they have become convinced, I suppose, that it's appropriate and that the group is more important than the individual.
Independent federal Senator Nick Xenophon has championed a campaign to shed light on the darkness at the heart of this group.
What makes things worse is that this organisation is effectively being subsidised by Australian taxpayers because it doesn't pay tax.
Shane has his father back, yet his mother remains inside Scientology.
Well, I hope my mum hears word of this and sums up the courage to actually find it and watch it and find out.
Well, she'll have to leave, won't she?
She will. Yeah, she will have to. No, she will have to escape. Leave won't be an option. She will have to escape.
The Church of Scientology refused to be interviewed for this story. In this written response, Scientology denies any mistreatment of its members. Anyone on the program is there because they want to be there. They are completely free to withdraw at any time during induction or later. When Shane left the church in late 2010, he simply got his bag and walked out the door. It is very sad that Shane has changed his story. The celebrities used to advertise Scientology likely have little idea that people like Shane even exist. Now they do.
I regained the son. I got him back.
I got my dad.
It's Brian Seymour reporting, and we understand information in that story will be sent to Federal Minister for Workplace Relations, Bill Shorten. We'll let you know if anything comes of that.